I'm going to talk about automation in Audition. You can do automation in pretty much any digital audio workstation, in Pro Tools, Audition, any of the other ones that are out there. And the idea behind automation is it allows you to manipulate and record parameters in real time. In other words, you can watch the film and you can move the fader up and down and adjust the level as the film is playing out in real time. It usually gives you a little bit more of an organic feel to the mixing. It allows you to mix looking at picture as opposed to waveforms and keyframes. This is the way professional films are mixed. So doing this in Audition, first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you're in audio to video workspace. So go to Window Workspace, Edit Audio to Video. This will give you a view of the picture as well as the editor as well as the mixer. There have been times where I've taken the mixer and I've placed it below the timeline if I want to see both at the same time. But for this purpose, I'm going to keep them separate so we can get more of a view of each window. If we look at each mixer channel, we're going to see this read button. So right here, you'll see read. When you click on it, you're going to get a drop-down menu of different automation choices for that channel: off, read, write, latch, and touch. If a channel is set to off, no automation is read, so the parameter just stays stationary. So we'll talk in terms of the level. The fader is not going to move. Wherever you set it, it's going to stay there. If you have it in read, it's going to follow the automation. In write mode, automating is initiated as soon as you begin playback. So let me just show you some examples of this. So I'm going to take this channel, I'm going to put it in off. So if I press play,
instinct, but you're new.
Wherever I set the fader,
You're seeing things wrong.
it's just going to sit there. If I put it in read,
They're not living, they're dying. And unless you're some kind of second coming, you can't bring them back.
we get the same behavior. However, as soon as I write onto a track, then it's going to start following the automation. I'm going to go to a channel, I'm going to write some information.
Unless you're some
So I
kind
put
of
in
second,
write and I'm just
you
moving
can't
the
bring them
fader.
back.
Now if I put it in read and press play,
So the greater
as I
good
move the fader, now I'm not
is
moving it back,
triage.
I'm moving it up, and as soon as I let go of the
Take the
fader,
call,
it's going to go
stem
back
the
to the
bleeding,
position I was writing
and
at.
move on.
Okay, so that's kind of an important thing to know about the read parameter. It starts following automation as soon as you've written automation. If you haven't written any automation yet, it functions like off. So let's talk about the write parameters. There's 3 of them. First is just write. And this, as soon as you press play, writing is going to be initiated. So I'm going to put this into write, going to press play.
Department can't
And
afford
let's take a look at the editor for this. If we want to look at our automation, if I drag this open, and if I click this little arrow here, it shows our automation envelope. So this is what I've written. So now we're going to put it back in write. I'm going to press play. And
So
just adjust.
the
You can
greater
adjust the
good
volumes from here.
is
Well,
triage.
and you're not seeing it in real time.
Take
but
the call,
as
stem
soon as
the
I
bleeding.
press stop, you'll see here's everything I wrote in for the automation. Okay, so it records the fader levels, whether you're using this little fader, which isn't very convenient, or you're using the fader in the mixer window, it's going to record those. But again, the important thing about write, as soon as you press play, it starts writing. So that could be dangerous because let's say this is automation I did and I really want to keep. Now I'm in write. And I'm not thinking, I just press
You're
play. I'm
new.
like, whatever, I'm just playing along.
You're
and
seeing
I'm
things
forgetting
wrong.
it's in write. Watch what's going to happen to
These
this
people out
automation as
here,
soon as I press
this
stop.
time of night.
It automatically overwrote all of that automation. So write can be a dangerous parameter if you're not paying attention. And you'll notice every time you go into write
They're not living, they're dying.
and press stop, it automatically switches to touch mode because it doesn't stay in write mode. And you don't want to do that because, again, it's kind of a dangerous mode to be in where you can overwrite work you've done. The 2 modes you'll be using when you're actually writing automation and mixing is touch and latch, and they both behave in different ways. In touch mode, as soon as you touch the fader or control, the automation starts writing. As soon as you let go of the fader, in other words, you take your hand off the mouse or off the trackpad, or if you're on a mixing console, off the mixing console, it goes back to its original level. Let me show you that. So right now we're in touch. I'm pressing play.
And unless you're some kind of second coming, you can
And
bring them back.
you can look up here, you can see
So the
it's
greater
following the levels.
is triage.
So let's say I want to just
Take the
make an
call.
adjustment here. Let me go back to here. Okay, let's say we want to flatten this guy out, right? So I'm going to press play and I'm going to hold that. As soon as I let it go,
call. Stem the bleeding.
it wrote automation only while I was touching this or touching the fader. If I go to the mix window.
And move on.
Okay,
The department can't
write
afford your
automation. It's writing
goodwill.
automation at this level. As soon as I let go, it goes back to where it was, and it just wrote for that time. So that's touch. Touch, as long as you're touching the control, it's going to write. As soon as you let it go, it goes back to its original level. So this is really good when you're kind of touching up automation. If you want to just push something up and let it go back to the original level. Although this is something I generally always keep it in touch because I just feel like I have more control. I know when I'm touching the fader, it's writing. When I'm not touching it, it's not writing. The other mode is called Latch. And in this one, as soon as you touch the fader, it starts writing. And when you let go of it, when you take your hand off the mouse, take it off of the trackpad, it's still going to continue writing. But it doesn't start writing until you touch it. So that's how it's different than write. So write mode is going to start writing immediately. Touch mode is only going to be writing when you're touching a control. Latch mode, it's not going to start writing until you touch a control, and then once you let go of it, it's going to continue writing. So watch. So press play.
The greater good.
Right, it's not writing, it's just following the
triage.
automation. Now I'm going to bring this
Take
up.
the call,
Start
stem
writing
the
it,
bleeding,
let it go.
and move on.
Notice, this doesn't bounce back like
The
touch
department
mode.
can't
It
afford
stays
your
at
goodwill.
+2.4, wherever I put it, until I press stop. And then you can see. So it latched in. That's why it's called latch. You push it up, starts writing, and it stays automating at that level. Even if you let go of the fader, if you let go of the mouse, you let go of the trackpad, it stays at that until you let go, and then it stops writing. Those are the three modes. Like I said, I prefer touch 99% of the time when I'm mixing. I don't use latch very often, but there are certain uses where you might want to use it. If you want to just set a level and just let it ride, that's where it would work. As I've been showing you, the way you can see the automation is by going to the edit view. Okay, so let's go to another track. We'll go to this Foley track here. As soon as you stretch the track, you'll see there is the touch, read, write setting, and then there's a show envelope setting. Then you select what you want to see. I can see it says read here. You could set whatever your automation mode is, but when you click on this little triangle, it's going to bring you the show envelopes lane. So right now we're looking at the volume. You can see the volume is all written at 0. Of course, you can click keyframes in, holding down Option, clicking keyframes, and that's one way you can adjust the volume. But you can also perform automation. So if I put this into touch, press play,
And bring them back.
push the volume up.
So the greater good
Up,
is
and
triage.
down. You'll see this is the automation that I wrote. If you want to clear that automation, you just click on that. If you want to move keyframe by keyframe, as you click on these arrows, you can go keyframe to keyframe. So jump to that keyframe, jump to that keyframe. Let's say I want to delete that keyframe. I could just click this little diamond because the blue diamond indicates there's a keyframe there. If I turn it off, it turns off the keyframe and gets rid of it. But what we're talking about now is not necessarily doing keyframe automation. It's real-time automation. So I'm just going to focus on that. If you automate other parameters, because you could automate other parameters, you would access it from here. So show envelope for pan. Here's the pan automation. Show envelopes for mute. Here's mute automation. All of these can be automated. So again, to automate, place the channel into the automation mode you want, begin playback, and adjust the fader. As I said earlier, you can automate pan and any effects as well. So if you add a reverb, you can automate the mix or the gain of the reverb. So automation is a great way to adjust your levels, adjust any effects levels, adjust any panning by watching the picture, and that's kind of an important part of mixing. So you're mixing looking at what the audience is going to be seeing as opposed to mixing by looking at the waveforms or the timeline or the keyframes.